Good morning, everyone. Can you even hear me? Oh, geez, yeah, you can. How's it going, everybody? How's it going? How's it going? Good morning. Welcome to the Be Weird broadcast. Hello, gentlemen, ladies, and NBs. You're here early in the morning if you're Canadian, and if you're around the world, hopefully, good afternoon. Guten Nacht. From people listening in Germany, if you're there. How's it going? Sorry, I haven't streamed in a while. Good morning, Lautaro Youth. I think I saw Lacey in there earlier. Yo, tough to get back in the saddle, let me tell you. I had a bit of a rough go with YouTube, and it kind of killed my momentum in a pretty big way. Like, lost a lot of juju. So what happened was, I think I did a stream, my longest stream ever, at 7.5 hours, and definitely one of the streams that like I figured YouTube would clap me over, and they did. They did pretty hard. I got like a content strike, and what that means, basically, I broke TOS, terms of services, and yeah, yeah, it's good to see you too. I got a bit of news lined up. Tomorrow's gonna be really fun because we're gonna return to the People's Convoy. We're gonna take a break from the Ukraine coverage and go check out Channel 5 News and see their coverage of the greatest, you know, move forward for freedom since the civil rights era. uh, but the YouTube stuff was wild because they gave me a strike for misinformation, everybody, for misinfo. And I'm apologizing to my audience, like, so sorry, like clearly something went wrong. Maybe I grabbed a bad source. And I review the video. It's 7.5 hours long. I go through it, I scrub through, and I find like two spots. One that's like a BBC clip of like some American protest, and then another clip that's from Telegram, and is just like stuff that's circulating online. I found it on like Reddit when it was like new post, like very fresh. So yeah, it was totally unverified. And YouTube's like, nah, you can't have even 30 seconds. You can't even have 30 seconds of unverified protest. Bam. And put a strike on my channel saying, like, if you do this again, you're gonna get banned for a week, shape up or ship out kind of thing. And I write in the appeal, like a nerd I am, like, please, YouTube, oh dear YouTube, oh lords of YouTube, please free me from this prison. And there are people shouting freedom last night in Paradigm Stream, and I was like, "Where is Beware freedom? Freedom?" Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I've barely even been watching Twitch. I'm just like totally took a step back. I had to focus on school and other things. Mostly school. Had like a massive 10-page paper due, and yeah, I miss Paradigm. What a great streamer. And so to finish the story, uh, YouTube claps me. I write in the appeal like the nerd I am, saying like, "Yo, like there's like less than a minute here," and they respond saying, "Okay, it wasn't that bad." But we're still taking down your 7.5 hour stream, and we'll remove the strike. So good news, bad news. Good news is I don't have a strike, so if I fuck up again, I won't like disappear on you for a week, which it apparently can happen. Um, and bad news is I lost like a 7.5 hour stream. So meh, whatever. I guess it's a live stream. They're pretty ephemeral. They come, they go. Whoop de doo. So that's the story, everybody. Yeah, feels bad, man. Feels bad. So we're learning as we go. I did not promise only success. I promised lots of failure, but we're failing upwards, everybody, like a rocket to the moon. Okay, all right, okay. So the first video I have lined up is from Adam something, and he's like a leftist socialist YouTuber, and we're gonna check out his video on the massive military failure of Russia while I curate some news in the background just to catch us all up in the last couple days, at least catch myself back up. But yeah, let's get into it.
Hello everyone, so as you might have heard, Russia has invaded Ukraine. Full scale, all directions, with the full use of their arsenal. This video is an analysis of the current situation in Ukraine, taking into account multiple aspects of the war. At the time of making this video, it's the 12th day of the invasion, and Russians, while having caused massive damage and casualties, have not managed to achieve any of their main military objectives. In fact, they're taking very heavy losses during all this, to the point where some say Ukraine might just be able to win against the second most powerful military on the planet. So, okay, what the hell is happening here? To understand, we'll go through what the Russians originally planned and what ended up happening instead. But before that, as a quick public service announcement, if you're a Ukrainian journalist, my sponsor Atlas is giving you a free 1-year VPN subscription. For instructions, follow the link in the description. Meanwhile, the rest of us get a special discount, meaning 82% off your 3-year plan for $199 per month, plus 1 month free with a 30-day money-back guarantee. With a single subscription, an ad blocker, and steal your assets such as a huge discount. Time to have a breach scan subscription for just checking out destroyed columns. The Russians' plan to seize Ukraine was essentially a blitzkrieg. Based on documents found in destroyed columns, they wanted to get this shit done within 2 weeks, i.e. achieve all their objectives plus Ukraine's capitulation. Sharp-eyed viewers might notice that as of now, the 12th day, Russians aren't even close to achieving any objectives. Turns out Russia severely miscalculated, expecting low Ukrainian resistance and a quick advance. The plan was the following: break out of Crimea and move west and east, land a bunch of troops around Odessa, link up with the west-moving troops, and encircle the city. The east-heading troops were to continue to Mariupol, where they link up with the forces from the Donbass, encircling Mariupol itself. Kharkiv was to be encircled as well, with forces coming from the east and northeast. In the north, Russians were to take cities like Sumy and Chernihiv, then proceed down towards Kiev, join troops from the northeast, and once again encircle the city. So in the Russian dream scenario, within 2 or 3 days, most major Ukrainian cities are encircled, meanwhile their armies are rolling through the countryside, forcing a quick and desperate surrender in Kiev, and Ukraine is annexed before the West can recover from its confusion. They even pre-wrote an article for this occasion, which people found on the RIA Novosti website, titled Russia's Offensive and the New World. It's Google translated to English. Russia is restoring its unity. The tragedy of 1991, this terrible catastrophe in our history, its unnatural dislocation, has
Yes,
been overcome. Yes, at a great cost. Yes, through the tragic
I am
events of
muted.
a virtual civil war, because now brothers, separated by belonging
Thank
to
you.
the Russian and Ukrainian armies, are still shooting at each other, but there will be no more Ukraine as anti-Russia. Russia is restoring its historical fullness, gathering the Russian world, the Russian people, together in its entirety of Great Russians, Belarusians, and the Little Russians. If we had abandoned this, if we had allowed the temporary division to take hold for centuries, that we would not only betray the memory of our ancestors, but also be cursed by our descendants for allowing the disintegration of the Russian land.
Amazing. Amazing. Oh man. I love that he's done the work of. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, Loud Tyrant Youth. Streaming is hard. You like move from one setting to another and like things change on you without, and so you gotta like redouble. Okay, I won't go into it.
Vladimir Putin has assumed, without a drop of exaggeration, a historic responsibility by deciding not to leave the solution of the Ukrainian question for future
No!
generations. After all, the need to solve it would
Oh,
always
God.
remain the main problem for Russia, for 2 key reasons. And the issue of national security, that is, the creation of anti-Russia from Ukraine as an outpost for the West to put pressure on us, is only the second most important among them. Now this problem is gone. Ukraine has returned to Russia. This does not mean that its statehood will be liquidated, but it will be reorganized, re-established, and returned to its natural state as part of
Ooh, nature is returning.
the Russian world. In what borders, in what form will the alliance with Russia be fixed, through the CSTO and the Eurasian Union, or the Union State of Russia and Belarus? This will be decided after the end dispute in the history of Ukraine as anti-Russia. In any case, the period of the split of the Russian people is coming to an end. This is literal Nazi shit, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Territorial
Oh,
conquest
yeah.
based on ethno-nationalism, aiming to restore the mythical past greatness of Russia. Oh, by the way, the Russian invasion is officially called Special Military Operation to denazify Ukraine. Go figure. However, as I've mentioned before,
Yeah.
the Russian blitzkrieg didn't work. It's day 12, no major
If you actually circulate around like a lot of Twitch and like get different opinions on this, you'll find a lot of coverage like exploring the sort of like the Nazi element. Wow, sounds exactly like Nazi Germany's 1940s. Yeah, but here's where it gets tricky, Lacey, is that like here's the thing I've been really struggling with to understand is what Ukrainians going through is a nationalistic moment, right? And as much as people frown upon war because it's evil and bad and people die and hospitals get shut down and Russia commits war crimes, war is often how like societies form national identities. And I don't know how you do that without the nationalists coming out from their woodwork. You actually need their penchant for violence, and the aspiration is that you're bringing in these far right forces to you're bringing them into your military. You're like taking all this extreme violence, this ethno-nationalist bullshit, even within Ukraine's own borders, because there is some Nazi bullshit in Ukraine as well. It's small, but you can't just hand wave it away. But the ambition, I guess, for lefties and libs is that in the nation building moment, you sort of take all those far right forces that are off doing their own militia building thing, figuring out their own like ways to do violence without the state intervening, and you fold them into the state in such a way that they are submitting to civilian oversight and not becoming civilian oversight. And that's like the real battle, because people are going to want to glorify the ones who did great violence against the Russian enemies, who are clearly the enemy, who are clearly attacking. And this is what like Ukraine needs to build its national identity, and having every citizen, jumping into the war effort is also a big part of that. But what's going to happen is that it's going to normalize all of the like bad people within Ukraine and glorify their ability to wield violence. And so like after the war, post-war, there's a really dicey situation that can happen, or that's possible, where like, yeah, you've just empowered a bunch of far right assholes. It's like America saying, okay, Canada, we want your land. Yeah, Lacey, I've heard a lot of some people saying that Ukrainians and Russians see each other as brothers. And especially like with Kyiv being the historic city for Kiev and Rus, like 1,000 years ago or whatever, there is definitely like some ancient ties, but it's like Slavic people, right? Like there's definitely like some complexity going on there.
Their objectives have been achieved, and Russians are taking heavy losses everywhere. To understand where they fucked up, let's go back to the very beginning. The whole invasion began by Russians unloading on Ukraine with ballistic missiles, hitting military bases, airports, and so on. This was done to cripple Ukrainian defenses, of course, break their chain of command and send them into chaos, so Russians can just roll in and mop them up. However, Ukrainians got intel from NATO just in time and managed to shuffle things around right before the strikes. While some things did.
So, I'm pretty sure that this meme is pretty much just focused on the cat, but this is like white people throughout history. The fuck they doing over there? And like, ignore the bad headline, but like, this is Russia looking at Ukraine. The fuck they doing over there? Like, I want that. America looking at Canada. What's going on? Like, fuck. White people, oh my god, no.
Get destroyed, most equipment survived, and, very importantly, the chain of command remained intact. The predicted chaos among the defenders also didn't happen. Ukrainians stood their ground. As a result, Russians started fucking up right at their first objective, namely Kharkiv. That was the first location where they got bogged down, and they haven't managed to advance ever since. In the south, Russians did achieve at least some success, having managed to advance to Mariupol in the east and successfully encircling it. So now comes the hard part for those troops, i.e. to actually try and take the city. And that will take weeks at best, with heavy losses and block-by-block urban warfare. In the north, Russians did manage to roll into cities like Sumy, but were promptly beaten out and forced back to the outskirts. As of now, the most important cities in the north are under Ukrainian control. Russians were supposed to take these cities on their way to Kiev, but when they couldn't, they simply went around them instead, focusing all their efforts on Kiev. But this is leading to additional losses, since they had to stretch their supply lines further in hostile areas.
Supply lines are massive. Like, I think there was something I read that was like the Japanese knew the war was over when they learned that the American front line was having like ice cream delivered to their ships or whatever. like there's something to be said about the logistics. If your logistics are extremely firm, it means like you're covering the routes. And from some of the footage I've seen and a lot of the discussion, people are pointing out like how much Russia's relying on tanks and tanks alone, which isn't really how they work. They kind of like work in tandem with troops, with infantry that are scoping out ahead so that you can take out artillery positions and like working alongside each other. Yeah, I could go into it, but yeah, they're fucking up hard. It's crazy
But
to
the
see.
real fuck-ups have been happening around Kiev. An important strategic objective to the northwest is Hostomel Airport, which the
tractor
Russians
stone.
initially took with a massive helicopter raid. Some
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. There's so many videos of tanks blown up, and I'll go into exactly why that's happening. I did a bit of research.
2 dozen helicopters rolled through, clearing out the defenses, followed by elite Russian paratroopers, but then they were defeated by Ukrainians who took back the airport. And not only that, but Ukrainians also shot down 2 IL-76 transport planes. That's easily 300 plus KIA Russian elite soldiers. This was a huge loss of face for the Russian military. Russians
Yeah.
then broke in from the north proper, taking the Chernobyl zone in the process. But they once again got bogged down, this time in Kiev's northern suburbs, where Ukrainians blew up bridges and keep harassing their columns. Suburbs like Irpin and Bucha are consequently full of wrecked Russian hardware. Aside from the Ukrainian army and the territorial defenses, Ukrainian spec ops are also operating in the area, hence the lack of Russian progress. Okay, so why do Russians move in easy to ambush columns instead of simply rolling through the land? The answer is the mild weather turning fields into swamps, and them getting stuck in the mud is only one of the reasons why they
Stuck in the mud. That's the title of today's stream, everybody.
avoid it. The second reason is the lack of tire maintenance. Turns out wheeled vehicles need to be moved at least once a month, otherwise
It's because Putin sent untrained kids. Yeah, like all the conscripts and stuff. I want to say Paradigm was saying Putin's top guys are getting taken down. Yes. Yes, loud tyrant youth. A second general has been killed. It's insane. It's insane. I'll try to pull up news on that, but I think there's been 2 reports. One of them may be unconfirmed, and I think one confirmed. I'll double check on that. But like, yeah, top generals in the field are just getting murked.
their tires decay and become brittle. If you decrease pressure at that point, the tire will simply tear itself apart. And turns out tires need to be depressurized so the vehicles don't sink in the mud. So yeah, for Russians, driving across the fields either means getting stuck in the mud or having tires shred. For this reason, they have to keep to the roads, which makes them easier targets for defenders. Other problems for the Russians include morale and logistics. Russian troops are fighting against a quote-unquote fraternal people for no good reason other than Putin's imperial ambitions. However, many of their troops are essentially kids in their early 20s, conscripts who were forced to sign papers,
there you go, Lacey.
making them temporary contractors so they can
What happened to the 40-kilometer convoy? We're looking at it. This is it. All that footage you're seeing of the Ghost of Kyiv is a myth. It was CGI generated war propaganda. Wasn't actually a real thing. It's just fake news. But yeah, we're basically looking at the convoy. So here's the thing about the tanks. From what I read on some like forums, so you know it's true, is that Russia is using a particular model of tank that is really cheap to produce and is like a really old design, like a redesign of a redesign of like an older model from like the 40s or something crazy. And it's designed to be in a horizontal line to create like this big moving advance because it's really well enforced in the front, but not well enforced on the sides. But because they're so cheap to produce, it's not too hard to like string a bunch of them across a field, put some infantry between them. All of a sudden, you got a very intimidating invasion force. However, the way that Russia's using the tanks is like driving them by themselves on roads in a single convoy. Like their most vulnerable parts are exposed, and a lot of the weapons that Ukraine is using, like the Bayraktar, the drone that Turkey provided them with, they just hover from atop. You can just watch drone footage nowadays. You just find it very easily. You're just like watching a little tank driving, and then there's like a little black and white. You're looking through a black and white screen. There's a little dot on the camera. You're following, and then poof, blows it up. No problem. And it's because they don't really have a lot of defense on top. And also the missiles that they've been using. I think they actually target lock and then like swoop up and hit on the top. I can't remember, something crazy like that. But essentially the point is that modern anti-tank weapons are like effective, very, 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 very effective against these tank convoys. especially the way that Russia's using them. And it's a very muddy area, so they're probably sticking to roads, and then they're like going in a straight line. So it's a bad situation.
Can be deployed into a war zone. Meanwhile, Ukrainian morale is very high despite everything. But where the Russians truly fucked up is their logistics. They don't have enough food and fuel. Thus, Russians just leave vehicles with empty tanks on the roadside, only to be blown up or towed away by Ukrainians. There are cases of Russian soldiers looting grocery stores for food and knocking on locals' doors at night, asking to buy food and fuel for any price. The Russian army simply didn't have enough trucks and other logistics systems for this invasion, and what they have is decreasing rather fast. Just their visually confirmed truck losses are currently above 200. This maelstrom of incompetence has resulted in images like this. 4 Russian Tunguska Sams consisting $16 million each abandoned next to the road.
Yo, 60 mil each. And you know it's Russian because it's got that Z.
Locals setting them on fire. I believe, however, that in the following days, the focus of attention will shift towards the south. Here, the Russians are far more successful since they are operating out of established military bases in Crimea, among other things. There's a great...
Yeah, they're so strong, they're just giving their weapons to Ukraine at this point.
Thread on Twitter about this by retired Major General Mick Ryan, which I recommend you check out.
Major General Mick Ryan. That sounds interesting. March 7th.
Basically, Mariupol will likely fall in the future, and if Odessa is taken, that will be a huge long-term issue for the Ukrainians. So we should look at how the situation will develop in the coming days there. But the military conflict is only one of the aspects of the invasion. There's also an information war going on, which Ukraine is winning. Consequently, aside from the terminally online weirdos and open fascists, pretty much everyone in the developed world is
You know who you are.
Ukrainian right now. The Russian narrative didn't stick, overwhelmed by, well, reality, and savvy use of mass media by the Ukrainian leadership. On the economic front, Russia is heading towards a collapse. Special economic descent, my bad. The US dollar currently costs around 120 rubles, up from around 75 a few weeks ago. Russia has been severely limited or outright cut off from pretty much every global financial system. We'll see how the invasion will develop in light of all this, since, you know, Russia actually has to pay for it. In the meantime, Russians have switched to indiscriminate bombing of Ukrainian cities and civilian infrastructure, which is a war crime by the way, but also a sign of their frustration. Their victory is still far away though. Rolling through the countryside is the easy part. Taking cities block by block is the hard part, and then maintaining their occupation is the expensive part. So we'll see how the situation will develop. We might see some limited Russian success in the future, followed by a peace agreement. Or maybe Putin will just press the button. Very unlikely, but possible. As I mentioned, the south will be key here, so you should keep an eye on that for now. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah, this guy's pretty good. It's pretty based. Oh, this is Adam something. Yeah, Adam something's really based. This guy's awesome. Okay, so I got a bit of news. How to use tank. Stop. How to invade country. Because, yeah, he kind of stepped into the economic trap that basically... I guess he didn't think the West would have the balls to do. Kremlin said on Thursday that Russia's economy was experiencing a shock and that measures were being taken to soften the impact of what it described as an absolutely unprecedented economic war being waged against Moscow. The West has imposed sweeping sanctions against Russia over its invasion of Ukraine. Quote, our economy is experiencing a shock impact now, and there are negative consequences. They will be minimized. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters on a conference call. He described the situation as turbulent, but said that measures to calm and stabilize it were already being taken. My favorite one is that McDonald's is pulling out. There's massive lines to get your last sweet, delicious McDonald's meal, Big Mac. And Russia responded by saying, yeah, you can just steal their brand. Fuck it. There was a TikTok with a Ukrainian teaching you how to use abandoned tanks. What? Those are the real heroes. Russian president, Google searches leak, has no idea how to invade. Actually, there has been a couple. I heard the Kremlin was hacked. I'm going to see if I can pull that up. But I wanted to answer a few other things, just to reinforce where the troops are coming from. Putin says Russia to use Middle East volunteer fights. So up to 16,000 volunteers from the Middle East. This is a fun story. accused Russian agent gave to one politician, Tulsi Gabbard. Remember her? Anybody remember Tulsi Gabbard? Huh? She tried to be president. Failed really hard. A former Democratic congresswoman from Hawaii and 2020 presidential dark horse candidate has long perplexed U.S. officials and observers with her seemingly inexplicable pro-Russian positions. And a new development this week is sure to reinforce the half-jokes that Gabbard is a Russian asset. As it turns out, her campaign took money from one. Oh, yeah, you know, Kraus? Yeah, I know. She's amazing. I've honestly loved to watch her because people are like so split on their opinion with her sometimes. They like can't tell what's going on with her. In other American politics news, U.S. Representative Madison Cawthorn calls Ukrainian president a thug. That's...
Zelenskyy is a thug.
Oh, okay. Let's run that back.
Zelenskyy is a thug.
Oh. Ooh.
Right now at 6, a lot of attention tonight to a statement by U.S. Representative Madison Cawthorn caught on camera.
Yikes. The pro-Putin Republicans have emerged, everybody.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Deborah Morgan.
And I'm David Crabtree. The video we first showed you here on WRAL News earlier today, now making national headlines. WRAL's Capitol Bureau Chief Laura Leslie reports 1 hour after we first shared the video, Cawthorn appears to be walking back his remarks.
Ah, I knew it. I knew he can't do it. So this reminds me of a picture that went viral during, I think, the 2016 election. When did this go viral? Oh wait, in 2018, it says right there. I'd rather be a Russian than Democrat. Yeah, that's not a good look. Not a good look, Republicans, right now. I love that, like, their political leadership relies on Trump, and when he was asked about it, he started talking about windmills or something. Just like off the wall crazy. Can't even stick on topic. You hate to see it. Okay. A Ukrainian woman who is a professional pianist was playing her piano, and this video was recorded by her daughter in their home a few days back. Whew. Sheesh. Oh my God, what a piano. It's beautiful. Yes! Ooh. Oh my God. Oh my God. No! Oh, I gotta recognize. Oh, sounds like Chopin. I think that's Chopin. Wow, absolutely beautiful. Isn't the human spirit amazing? Golly gee. All right, more music, everybody. But it's heavy metal, so. And I might get clapped for this one.
Прийшли окупанти до нас в Україну, форма новенька, воєнні машини, та трохи поплавився їх інвентар. Байрактар.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Байрактар. Російські танкісти сховались в кущі, щоб лаптям посорбати довбані щі, та трохи у щах перегрівся навар. Байрактар.
This is pretty tame. I thought it was like a heavy metal song.
Байрактар. Зі сходу припхались до нас барани, для вас становлення великої страни, найкращий пастух баранячих отар.
Bayraktar. So there you go. There are the drones. Bayraktar.
Їх доводи всяке озброєння, різне ракети, потужні машини залізні. У нас на всі доводи є коментар. Байрактар.
Nice.
Байрактар. Вони захопити хотіли нас зразу, і ми зачаїли на орків образу. З бандитів російських робить примар. Байрактар.
Such a tame song, though. It's got like a little xylophone.
Байрактар. Російська поліція справи заводить на вбивцю рашистів. Ніяк не знаходить, хто ж винен, що в нашому полі глухар. Байрактар.
Wowee.
Байрактар. Веде пропаганду кремлівський урод. Слова пропаганди ковтає народ. Тепер нове слово знає їх цар.
Bayraktar. So good. Oh, wow, okay. Eee. What'd you think, everybody? That was the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians. Not bad, huh? Not bad. I was kind of hoping it was a bit heavier. It was a bit of a tame song. Never really had a drop. Didn't really go hard. You know what I mean? Let's close all that. Got some Al Jazeera for when the well runs dry. So yeah, look at this. This is from The Guardian. Vitaly Gerasimov, second Russian general killed, Ukraine Defense Ministry claims. Ukrainian intelligence says Major General in Russia's 41st Army died outside Kharkiv along with other senior officers. No shot. We'll watch that after. A Russian general has been killed in fighting around Kharkiv, Ukrainian intelligence has claimed, which would make him the second general the Russian army has lost in Ukraine in a week. Allegedly. You'll be humming that all day. Bayraktar. Yeah, pretty good tagline. Thanks, Turkey, I guess. The intelligence arm of the Ukrainian Defense Ministry said Major General Vitaly Gerasimov, Chief of Staff of the 41st Army, had been killed outside the eastern Ukrainian city of Kharkiv, along with other senior officers. The ministry also broadcast what it claimed was a conversation between two Russian FSB officers discussing the death and complaining that their secure communications were no longer functioning inside Ukraine. I think I actually remember covering this, like Robert Evans pointed to a tweet claiming that because they had destroyed the cell towers, all of their communications that relied on that technology were now no longer secure, and they were using like fucking phone sims to run a military operation. So of course, like, yeah, that stuff got intercepted, which means people found out where they were, which means, you know, put in the coordinates. Beep, 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 beep. And then, yeah, you've killed another major general. Wild. Allegedly. The investigative journalism agency Bellingcat, one of the best in the business, said it had confirmed Gerasimov's death with a Russian source. Its executive director, Christo Grotsev, said they had also identified the senior FSB officer in the interceptive conversation. Yeah, this was the source that I was relying on for that whole thing about Sims and stuff. This guy, he's pretty top dog. Russian embassy. Question: how much time does a couple of people 1,000 miles away need to disclose the true identity of an intelligence officer? Answer: less than a month, provided they use Google. Hashtag the truth is out there. Weird. That's an interesting tweet from the Russian embassy in the Netherlands. Okay. Oh, wow. Gerasimov took part in the Second Chechen War, the Russian military operations in Syria, and the annexation of Crimea, winning medals from those campaigns. If confirmed, big if true, Gerasimov would be the second Russian general from the 41st Army to die within a week of the invasion. Wow. Hilarious. Get fucked, Russian fascist. Russia calls UN meeting. This is today, I believe, or yesterday. Yesterday night, this was reported, so it must have just happened. Russia calls UN meeting alleging U.S., quote, military biological activities in Ukraine. U.S. calls it a false flag.
Maintaining their pressure on the city of Mariupol one day after the bombing of a maternity hospital that sparked outrage around the world.
Oh, yeah.
Officials say at least 3 people were killed in that attack, including a young girl. Russian forces continue their advance on the capital of Kyiv, but here you can see
We're going to look at that right now because that was pretty insane. BBC, Ukraine war, 3 dead as maternity hospital hit by Russian airstrike. If you like metal, Ginger is a Ukrainian band that deserves to be discovered. Okay, we can check that out when we need a little musical break. I think like on YouTube I get copyright strike, so I have to like mute or delete that section of the VOD. So hopefully that doesn't happen. 3 people, including a child, were killed in a Russian strike on a maternity and children's hospital in the city of Mariupol, officials say. Zelenskyy said people were trapped under the wreckage and called the attack a war crime. He also posted footage apparently from inside the hospital, which appeared badly damaged. Some 17 people were also injured, including staff and patients, local officials said. Pavlo Kirilenko, the head of the Donetsk regional administration, which includes the port city of Mariupol, said no deaths had been confirmed, and there were no confirmed injuries amongst children. He said the attack happened during an agreed ceasefire with the Russian side, according to Interfax Ukraine. The Mariupol City Council said the strike had caused, quote, colossal damage, end quote, and published footage showing burned out buildings, destroyed cars, and a huge crater outside the hospital. The BBC has verified the location of the videos. You hear that, YouTube? You hear that? This isn't misinformation, okay? The BBC did the verification. Don't clap me, please.
17 injured people and 3 killed people and also child. These are awful numbers of this bombing, and I'm absolutely sure and it's war crime and genocide of Ukraine as a nation. We all see the results of this bombing. So we had on this territory like medical campus. There were 3 buildings, maternity hospital, children's hospital, and children's therapy. One of them even does not exist. Other one received a lot of damages without windows, without doors, and so on. So it's just one of the bomb, and you see the diameter and the depth of the on Earth. It's the biggest bomb. I don't know what it is, but it's awful.
It's wild. I just don't understand. It's depraved. Zelenskyy, speaking Russian rather than Ukrainian for part of his latest video address, said the attack was a war crime. Can we watch that video? I'm going to see if I can pull that up. There was also one thing I wanted to look into was his address to the House of Commons. Apparently he received a standing ovation in the British... Oh, this is kind of fun. I really like this. Look, you can watch the clock advance. Oh my God, that's great. Yo, the Brits really know how to make content, everybody. Look at this. This is a meme. I don't know how you do it though. I don't know how you get that into a meme. Just like, okay, sorry. Yada yada. Here he is. So this must be them introducing him, maybe. I'm entertained amongst the stories of death and horror by the cheerful propaganda memes. The Ghost of Kyiv. Igor the Farmer? Sorry. What? The Bayer Akhtar drone song? Yeah, the meme game will be pretty interesting, but what the fuck is Igor the Farmer? Please. Where's the joke? Where's the joke? I can't reproduce the joke. But I believe you, Simon. I'm just gonna make this faster.
Я звертаюся до усіх людей Сполученого Королівства, до усіх людей Великої Британії, великого народу з великою історією. Я звертаюся до вас як громадянин, як президент, але теж великої країни. З великою мрією і великою боротьбою. Я хочу розказати вам про наші 13 днів. 13 днів війни, міцної війни, яку ми не розпочинали і не хотіли. Але ведемо. Тому що не хочемо втратити те, що в нас є, те, що наше. Україну, так само, як ви не хотіли втратити свій острів, коли нацисти готувалися розпочати битву за вашу велику державу.
Am I supposed to understand this?
Ми живі люди. Російські то.
We're just like listening to Russian. It's not like translated. What's going on here?
Чули це. Я не хочу нікого образити. Ми це відчули, що
Did they
альянси
really
не
just
діють. Навіть небо закрите.
really just put it up raw? This is Britain. We speak English here.
What is ours, our country, Ukraine.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we
Days
go.
of war.
Sorry, everybody. I can't believe how long that took me to figure out. I'm like waiting for the translation. Okay, any minute now. Okay, let's try this again.
Mr. Speaker, all the members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, I'm addressing all the people of the United Kingdom and all the people from the country with a big history. I'm addressing you as a citizen, as a president of also a big country with a dream and big effort. I would like to tell you about the 13 days of war. The war that we didn't start and we didn't want it. However, we have to conduct this war. We do not want to lose what we have, what is ours, our country, Ukraine. Just the same way as you once didn't want to lose your country when Nazis started to fight your country. And you had to fight for Britain. 13 days of the struggle. On day 1 at 4 o'clock in the morning, we were attacked by cruise missiles.
Boris Johnson looks like a grown-up Dennis the Menace. Yo, don't. He is the Prime Minister of Britain. I think John Oliver pointed it out that his whole look is very carefully managed. This whole frumpy, I'm not threatening. Yeah, that's all. It's all like it's all a lure. It's all bait.
Everybody woke up, people, children, the entire Ukraine, and since that we have not been sleeping. We have all been fighting for our country with our army. On day 2, we have been fighting airstrikes, and our heroic military servicemen on the island Zmyny have been trying to fight. When Russian forces demanded that we lay down the arms. However, we did continue fighting, and we did feel our force, the force of our people that will oppose the occupants until the end. The next day, the artillery started fighting us. Our army showed us who we are, and we have been able to see who are people and who are beasts. On day 4, we started getting people captive. We have not been torturing them. We remained humane even on day 4 of this terrible war. On day 5, the terror against us was going on against children, against cities, and constant shelling have been taking place around the country, including hospitals, and that didn't break us. And that gave us feeling of big truth. On day 6,
feeling of big truth.
The Russian rockets fell on Babin Yar, that is the place where the Nazis killed thousands of people during the Second World War. And 80 years after, the Russia hit at them for the second time. And even churches are getting destroyed by shelling. On day 8, we have seen Russian tanks hitting the atomic power station.
Yeah.
And everybody got to understand that this is the terror against everyone. On day 9, there was a meeting of NATO countries without the result that we were looking for. Yes, we did feel that. We did feel that. Unfortunately, that the alliances don't work properly always, and the no-fly zone cannot be enforced. And on day 10, the Ukrainians started protesting en masse, stopping the armored vehicles with their own hands. And on day 11, the children and cities were being hit, and hospitals as well, with the rockets and constant shelling. And on that day, we realized that Ukrainians became heroes. The entire cities, children, adults, And on day 12, the losses of Russian army exceeded 10,000 people killed.
10,000?
And also...
Big if true. Ukrainian man on stroll in forest finds and claims $15 million Russian tank. Onto the Tor missile system page as a current user. People are ridiculous. Calm down, everybody.
The general, and that gave us hope that there will be some kind of responsibility for those people in front of the court on day 13 in the city of Mariupol that was attacked by the Russian force.
Daily Star. Was killed. Daily Star looks like a tabloid. I don't know, everybody. Might be more fake news. Maybe it's a plant trying to strike my channel again.
They do not allow any food, any water, and people started panicking.
There he is, Bojo. So yeah, let's take a break on that. Ukrainian man on stroll finds and claims 15 million pound Russian tank, allegedly, in Minecraft. Reportedly laid claim to a Russian tank worth 15.3 mil. Okay, all right. What are you gonna do with the tank? What do you do with tanks besides invade? This is a strange one. Russia threatens to abandon American astronaut in space as sanctions threaten peace aboard the International Space Station. Man, not even science is safe. Twitter is full of pictures of farmers towing away abandoned Russian vehicles and tanks. It is a meme, but they're towing away stuff. Yeah, I think Lacey said earlier that the thing that brings her joy is videos of tractors towing away the tanks. It's like a whole different kind of convoy.
The International Space Station in political crosshairs.
Oh, the sound.
As Russia retaliates against American sanctions. The head of the Russian Space Agency, Dmitry Rogozin, posting this video on social media threatening to abandon American astronaut Mark Vande Hei at the station.
Oh, what the fuck was that picture? Wait, what?
The Russian Space Agency, Dmitry Rogozin, posting this video on social media threatening to abandon American astronaut Mark Vande Hei.
Oh yeah, abandon that guy. Oh yeah, no, leave him behind. He is committing. That man is in. He is in space for a reason. Everybody, okay. That man is on a mission. Okay, look at that smile. He's way too excited about this space mission. I don't know, man. Russians might be right on this one.
At the station, he's supposed to return home on a Russian ship in just 3 weeks.
I never thought I would ever hear anything so outrageous.
Former NASA astronaut Scott Kelly heard enough after Rogozin tweeted another video of
Our science is taking a huge step backward too. Do you think Canada will beef up their Arctic presence?
Technicians covering up the U.S. and Japanese flags on a rocket. Kelly fired back. Without those flags and the foreign exchange they bring in, your space program won't be worth a damn. Maybe you can find a job at McDonald's, if McDonald's still exists in Russia. Rogozin responding by calling Kelly a moron with dementia.
This is my first ever, real engagement with someone in that kind of a negative way.
And it happens to be the head of the Russian space program.
Yeah, big deal. Head of the Russian space program.
Rogozin also making an ominous threat that without Russian help to move the ISS away from space junk, the ISS would crash into America or other countries.
What do you think about that?
I think it's just a crazy threat. It's not really based in reality. So we do have the ability to control the orbit of the space station independent from the Russian Space Agency. So I don't see that happening.
Earlier this week, after halting sales of a Russian-made engine used by the American Atlas rockets, Rogozin said the U.S. would need broomsticks to get to space. Overnight, SpaceX firing back as it launched its Falcon rocket carrying satellites to orbit.
Time to let the American broomstick fly and hear the sounds of freedom. LD is go for launch.
You hear that, everybody? Sounds of Freedom is getting out to space as well. So, Lacey, to answer your question in as best as I can, Canada has been testing stealth snowmobiles. Everybody, freedom. Yeah, we're liberating the North. Canada and Russia and I think like Norway, maybe like another Arctic or Nordic country, are all competing for oil rights in like the northern Arctic Circle. And Russia's just like, yeah, let's go climate change. Give us more access to those reserves. And as sort of encroaching on what Canada claims is their territory. And so Canada's been investing, from what I understand, in a bunch of stealth snowmobiles so that they can like better track Russian movements. And of course, soon we'll have our war polar bears. This is only a concept right now, but you know, if you dig a little deeper, you know, if you follow the right links on the internet, you'll find some shit about real war polar bears. Everybody, it's a thing. It's a thing. You heard it here first. It's only Canadian news people know about this. Speaking of Canadian military, yeah, Polar Patrol, Polar Bear Express, motherfuckers. Canada is well known for having some of the best snipers in the world. In international competitions, Canada, top contender, often taking first place. I think there's even, so under a foreign flag, Canadian veterans explain why they're fighting for Ukraine. So like Canadian veterans are going over. And apparently, according to the LBC, which is like a British talk show, James O'Brien is pretty based, a deadly Canadian sniper has arrived in Ukraine to take the fight to Russia as Kyiv's Foreign Legion grows. The sharpshooter, who goes under the nom de guerre, Wally, said he wanted to help Ukrainians who do not deserve to be bombed, quote, just because they wanted to be European and not Russian. A week ago, I was still programming stuff. The veteran, who's part of the Canadian Royal 22nd Regiment, said, quote, now I'm grabbing anti-tank missiles in a warehouse to kill real people. That's my reality right now. Sheesh. Wally left behind his wife and 1-year-old son. Oh. Bro. His wife reportedly said to stop him leaving to join the fight would be like keeping him in prison. Wow. As a Canadian sniper, Wally is among prestigious colleagues. A Canadian Special Forces operator holds the record for the longest confirmed kill shot, eliminating an ISIS militant from 3,540 meters in 2017. That's right, everybody. I remember coming across this news. In 2017, a Canadian shot someone from 3.5 clicks away. That's like across the city of Montreal. That's how far that shot is from like downtown to like NDG or something. Like that's insane. The bullet's not going straight. It's like moved by wind and gravity and like all sorts of stuff is happening. And it blew the other record away by over 1,000 meters. I mean, it's fucked up that these are all like confirmed kills. Yeah, confirmed kills. Jesus Christ. But yeah, Canadians are some of the best in the world. Wali, which means protector or guardian in Arabic, is a veteran of Canada's Afghanistan campaign in Kandahar. Oh, shit. Yo, watch out. This guy went to Kandahar and came back. Fuck. That was pretty much like one of the hottest places in the world for quite a while. Okay, let's see here. This was really big news the other day, especially for like Canada economy and the world economy. Biden says America will ban Russian oil imports in response to Putin's invasion of Ukraine. I'm sure you've heard about like the massive gas crisis, oil and gas crisis. Too bad we didn't like switch to renewables 20 years ago. The war is so horrible that I think some of the humor, quirky stories can help people cope better. Yeah, honestly, Simon Templar, like, I think Mouse might have been the one to break the mold on this, where Mouse just sort of went with the vibe that you just grow up with the trauma. You never actually kind of get over it. You don't really like digest it in comedic fashion or whatever. It just changes you irrecoverably. You can't go back. But I think it's super normal and human to try to like find the joy, find some sort of, it's really hard. I mean, but watching someone play that classical music, for instance, in her bombed out, I mean, there's a really famous picture. What was it? Syrian dad with daughter, bathtub. This was like a really impactful image. If you've never seen it before, this was from the occupation of Palestine. And you can see that they're having a blast, but it's a deeply fucked up situation like this. I think this is Aleppo, Syria, the capital of Syria, which just like is still just under bombardment, just an absolute clusterfuck. So yeah, this was from quite a few years ago. Gallows humor. Yeah, dark humor and gallows humor. Yeah, for sure. It's touchy though, because you kind of have to have a little period, a little buffer between the jokes and like what's happening, because for a lot of people, especially Ukrainians, this stuff is just way too fresh. Just way too fresh. You can't really joke about it. But like sometimes some things work, like that Bayraktar song. It's a song of rebellion, so it sort of meets the moment. You know, the farmers taking stuff again, that's like rebellion and like feeding into the war messaging. So it's lighthearted because there's not violence happening, but it's still sort of like the same motif. Okay, so yeah, we're about to. All our prices are going up, everybody. I hope you've switched jobs recently, because that's the only way to improve your salary, it appears. We've severed Russia from the global economy. UK also announced its own plans to phase out its reliance on Russian oil imports by the end of the year. The EU earlier Tuesday morning unveiled a plan to wean itself off of Russian fossil fuels. Wean spelled W-E-A-N? Really? Joe Biden. Yeah, I think if Kraus, you might already know, but Lucid Fox is a really great streamer if you want that combination of like heavy news, but someone who's like constantly riffing, constantly like making lighthearted, jokes about it, but is also aware of the gravity of the situation. Like, yeah, I'd strongly recommend Lucid Fox. He's really fun.
It's targeting the main artery of Russia's economy. We're banning all imports of Russian oil and gas and energy. That means Russian oil will no longer be acceptable at U.S. ports, and the American people will deal another powerful blow to Putin's war machine. This is a move that has strong bipartisan support in the Congress and, I believe, in the country. Americans have rallied.
Man, what's the ruble at right now?
To support the Ukrainian people and made it clear we will not be part of subsidizing Putin's war. We made this decision in close consultation with our allies and our partners around the world, particularly in Europe, because a united response to Putin's aggression has been my overriding focus, to keep all NATO and all of the EU and our allies totally united. We're moving forward with this ban, understanding that many of our European allies and partners may not be in a position to join us. The United States produces far more oil domestically than all the European countries combined. In fact, we're a net exporter of energy.
The Russian ruble is currently worth 11 cents. 11 Canadian cents. Yo, Russia is fucked.
So we can take this step when others cannot. But we're working closely with Europe and our partners to develop a long-term strategy to reduce their dependence on Russian energy as well. Our teams are actively discussing how to make this happen, and today we remain united.
It is low-key. It's finally lower than a fucking Robux.
Keep pressure mounting on Putin and his war machine. This is a step that we're taking to inflict further pain on Putin. But there will be...
And just to really emphasize this point, I've heard this through like other anecdotes as well, but apparently like Finland is getting flooded by Russians. This is a really interesting picture as well. Russian student. Look at her makeup. Isn't that interesting? Red instead of black. A lot of Canadians will wear black. She's wearing red with the little dots underneath. Very pale. She does not look happy, though. 25-year-old student, one of the hundreds of Russians choosing to leave Russia because of the war in Ukraine, described having panic attacks in the days before her departure. The student, who did not want to use her name because of fear of repercussions, arrived by train in Helsinki on Tuesday and is unsure when she'll return to her home country. The trains from the east pulling into Platform 9 at Helsinki's central train station are packed, transporting nearly 700 passengers from Russia each day as people seek to escape the uncertainty and fear the war in Ukraine has brought to their own country. China signed a deal to buy Russian wheat just before the war. Remains to be seen how much support they continue to give Russia. Yes, I mean, that's really where I'm thinking. We're not going to know much. It's going to be under wraps, but China seems to be playing a bit coy. And I think everybody like worried about the gas crisis. Wait until you see the wheat crisis. I'm understanding, like, Ukraine, of course, is like the wheat basket of Europe, and they're probably not going to have a very good year. I don't know. I just feel maybe they won't have the best year in terms of, wait, Padme Amidala? Yeah. Oh, I thought it looked familiar. Not me hearing weed and going, wow, that's interesting. China has something in mind already? Ahem. What are you saying, Lacey? What do they have in mind? I mean, China's in a tough spot. I don't know how they're going to play it. It is unstable in Russia now, she told CBC News. Wow, CBC got there. This is actual news from CBC. Holy shit, CBC broke a story for once. She pulled out her phone to show photos snapped in the days before she left St. Petersburg, one in support of Ukraine, with yellow and blue ribbons tied to a tree, and another of a giant Z broadcast on a multimedia screen in a subway station. The letter Z has morphed into a pro-war symbol in Russia, painted on tanks advancing on Ukrainian territory. Some of my friends have been arrested today already. Some have been fined. Some have been released, said the student, who has now joined her Russian boyfriend in Helsinki and doesn't know when or if she'll return home. Many of my friends are fleeing Russia as well. Wow. Wowee.
Cost as well here in the United States.
40% of sunflower oil exports. Oh, you're thinking about Taiwan? Yeah, I mean, opportunism. What is it? Like, opportunity strikes where... No, luck is when opportunity meets with preparation. So, yeah, Taiwan looking juicy right now. China be eating good.
I said I would level with the American people from the beginning. And when I first spoke to this, I said defending freedom is going to cost. It's going to cost us as well in the United States.
Wait, Simon. Are you telling me that oil exports are going to be a problem?
Republicans and Democrats understand that. Republicans and Democrats alike have been clear that we must do this. Over the last week, I've spoken with President Zelenskyy several times to hear from him about the situation on the ground and to consult and continue to consult with our European allies and about U.S. support for Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. Thus far, we've provided more than $1 billion in security assistance to Ukraine. Shipments of defensive weapons are arriving.
Of a 3D Z that rotates to show it as a Nazi symbol from a different direction? Ooh. Yeah, I think the thing I really want to get is that cube that like spins in the corner that I've been seeing on some people, on some people's streams, like Carter and Hassan. That's like Putin bad and like be weird news or whatever. Like that's an asset I want to figure out how to do.
In Ukraine every day from the United States.
I think Chernobyl was officially cut off from power. I'll double check on that 1 sec.
And we, the United States, are the ones coordinating the delivery of our allies and partners of similar weapons, from Germany to Finland to the Netherlands. We're working that out.
Yeah, according to the Washington Post, Chernobyl. Can you please stop? Chernobyl plant disconnected from power grid. Ukraine demands ceasefire for urgent repairs. Has been disconnected from the nation's power grid by Russian forces. The Ukrainian state-owned grid operator Ukrenergo, I guess ergo is their word for energy. Ukrenergo said Wednesday, potentially jeopardizing the cooling of nuclear material stored at the site. Quote, because of military actions of Russian occupiers, the nuclear power plant in Chernobyl was fully disconnected from the power grid. Nuclear station has no supply. Yeah, there you go.
We're also providing humanitarian support for the Ukrainian people, both those still in
Yeah,
Ukraine
exactly.
and those
I'm
who
just joking.
fled safely to a neighboring country. We're working with humanitarian organizations to surge tens of thousands of...
It's said to have power now, but both it and the power plant that was taken the other day and disconnected from reporting to global monitoring. Interesting. Also, is the people on YouTube, do you find there's less of a distance between your chat and when I respond? Did we fix the latency problem? Are we able to have like a proper conversation? I think I put it to like ultra low latency, so we should be like kind of close to one another. But yeah, let me know.
tons of food, water, and medical supplies into Ukraine, and with more on the way. Over the weekend, I sent Secretary Blinken to visit the border between Poland and Ukraine and to Moldova to see what the situation was firsthand and report back. General Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff of our Defense Department, was also in Europe, meeting with his counterparts and allies on NATO's eastern flank to reassure them, those countries bordering Russia, NATO countries, that we will keep our NATO commitment, the sacred commitment of Article 5. The Vice President Harris is going to be traveling to meet with our allies in Poland and Romania later this week as well. I've made it clear the United States will share in the responsibility of caring for the refugees so the costs do not fall entirely on the European countries bordering Ukraine.
IA, the International something Energy Association. Latency now minimal? Oh, okay, great, nice. 45 seconds? Okay, cool.
And yesterday I spoke with my counterparts in France, Germany, and the United Kingdom about Russia's escalating violence against Ukraine and the steps that we're going to take together with our allies and partners around the world to respond to this aggression. We are enforcing the most significant package of economic sanctions in history, and it's causing significant damage to Russia's economy.
True.
It has caused Russian economy to, frankly, crater. The Russian ruble is now...
Yeah, he's going to talk about the ruble being less than Robux. Yeah, here's the news from Jerusalem Post. Anonymous hacks Russian federal agency, releases 360,000 documents. Anonymous doing something good for once. The Ukrainian anonymous hacker group has hacked into Roskomnadzor, the Russian federal agency responsible for monitoring and censoring media. Oh, nice. Well done. They leaked the database. The Russian federal executive of Roskomnadzor, responsible for monitoring, controlling, and censoring Russian mass media, releasing to the public over 360,000 files. Among the censored documents released by Anonymous, some of which were dated as late as March 5th. Wowee. Are ones that show Moscow censored anything that referred to the war as a Russian invasion of Ukraine. It's interesting that Saudi Arabia is not pumping oil to compensate. Wait, what? No, I thought the markets were stabilizing because Saudi was gonna oil news. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, like I think the what's happening is America is asking Saudi Arabia and Venezuela for oil, and he's also releasing like strategic reserves. Let's see, is this right? Let me just check the date on this first. 2021. Is this also 9th of March? Here we go. Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates leaders decline calls with Biden amid fears of oil price spike. The Gulf nations have capacity to pump more oil to ease supply fears, but relations with the U.S. have chilled under Biden. Ooh. Okay, I stand corrected. De facto leaders of Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates have declined to arrange calls with Joe Biden in recent weeks as they've sought to contain a surge in energy prices caused by the war in Ukraine. According to the Wall Street Journal, citing Middle East and U.S. officials, both Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, also known as Mr. Bonesaw, because he literally sent a team to assassinate and dismember Jamal Khashoggi, a famous Washington, or not a famous, but a good Washington Post journalist who covered Saudi Arabia and many Middle Eastern countries, was a force for good. And Mohammed bin Salman, Mr. Bonesaw, went there and dismembered him, and Trump did nothing about it. And yeah, we just all forgot about it, everybody. That just got memory holds. We just moved on. Just moved on. United Arab Emirates Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan have been unavailable to Biden after U.S. requests were made for discussions. Quote, there was some expectation of a phone call, but it didn't happen. A U.S. official said of a plan for Saudi Prince Mohammed and Biden to speak. Quote, it was part of turning on the spigot of oil. Yeah, you didn't know that, Lacey? Jamal Khashoggi. We can actually hear his wife put out the audio recording of like some of his last moments. It's a deeply fucked up story. Known as the Time referred to him as a guardian of the truth. Dissident, author, columnist for Washington Post. He was assassinated at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul in 2018 by agents of the Saudi government, allegedly at the behest of MBS. This motherfucker. He is known as sort of like the young crown prince, and like is a very interesting, scary figure. He also served as the editor, turning it into a platform for Saudi progressives. He fled Saudi Arabia in 2017 and went into self-imposed exile. He said that the Saudi government had banned him from Twitter, and he later wrote articles critical of the Saudi government. He's been sharply critical, yada, yada, yada. He entered on October 2nd, 2018, he enters the Saudi consulate in Istanbul to obtain documents related to his planned marriage, but was never seen leaving. They got him to go there so that he can marry his wife. Amid news reports claiming that he had been killed and dismembered inside, an inspection of the consulate by Saudi and Turkish officials took place on 15th October. Initially, the Saudi government denied the death, but following shifting explanations for Khashoggi's death, Saudi Arabia's attorney general eventually stated that the murder was premeditated. By November 2018, the CIA had concluded that MBS ordered Khashoggi's assassination, was named Time magazine's Person of the Year in 2018. Can we get the citation on that? All right, let's see you soon. Yeah, pretty wild. Pretty wild. There you can see the picture. There he is. There's Jamal Khashoggi. Sag. So yeah, now we're asking MBS for oil, everybody. Just forget about that whole episode that happened. Just memory hole that fucking news. Forget that happened. Jailed Navalny calls for anti-war protests across Russia on Sunday. This is the leading, not necessarily a good person. I'm not saying Navalny's a good dude, but he is the most outspoken critic of the Putin regime, famous for putting out like these wicked investigative journalism pieces on YouTube that were like an hour long or whatever, translated into English, where he would get himself onto the board of like some company and then release all its documents to the public. He was kind of a badass, but also like has some dodgy history, and he's kind of trying to foment unrest and was jailed on trumped up charges. Also survived several failed assassination attempts, one of which hospitalized him in like Germany. It was a big fucking issue, big international affair when he also almost, I have no idea. I mean, I have no idea. He just like has been sipping polonium tea in like low doses so that when he got when they tried to assassinate him, he had built a tolerance. I'm lying, but that's what I imagine happened. Ukraine civilian deaths higher than military losses, according to the Ukraine's defense minister, which is not good. Apparently, morale is still high, according to some sources, but if you look at it, it's fucking hell. It's pure hell. This is Mariupol. Russians attack every 30 minutes, as Al Jazeera. Evacuations from the port city, as well as efforts to send food and water there, fail, as officials accuse Russia of launching attacks every 30 minutes. They're not letting people escape. All the civilians are like getting murked, and it's pretty fucked. Have gone through 2 days of hell, a local official said on Friday, claiming Russia attacks every 30 minutes have scuppered any attempt at evacuations from the besieged port city. Some 400,000 people remain in Mariupol, where Mayor Vadim Boychenko said Russian forces were continuing to cynically, ruthlessly, and purposefully attack apartment buildings. Quote, every 30 minutes, planes arrived over the city of Mariupol and worked on residential areas, killing civilians, the elderly, women, children, he said in an online post. Quote, is this the greatness of the Russian army today? End quote. Amid the shelling, not a single civilian was able to leave Mariupol on Thursday, officials said. Petro Andrushenko, an advisor to the mayor, said the Russians wanted to, quote, delete our people. They want to stop any evacuation. Yikes. So speaking of Al Jazeera, let's see what they're doing right now.
De Gregorio, he's a researcher at Oxford University Centre for Socio-Legal Studies. He joins us from Oxford. So, firstly, good of you to join us. What do we know about why and how Facebook made this decision?
Wait, what is? Oh shit, we missed some context.
The problem is that we do not know much about how this
I think it's the decision to pull out of Russia.
social media reached this decision. We know actually that this decision raised a lot of points about the protection also of free speech on a global scale, and especially in the Ukrainian conflicts. But we don't know how much what has been the procedure behind the screen to reach this decision. We actually, and even sometimes it's not quite easy to understand the coherence of this decision based on other decisions that have been taken by Facebook and other social media in this week.
Oh, wait, what? Facebook parent company changes rules to allow calls for violence against Russian soldiers. No! Don't do it! Don't do it, everybody! New rules on Meta social media platforms don't apply to threats against Russian civilians? No! No! Why? Don't do it. Don't.
News media outlets. So it's not quite easy to understand what is the logic behind this decision, and probably one speculation is that probably this logic is putting us back to a old Cold War scenario, where actually businesses, even if they state, and especially Facebook has stated many times that they are companies, are not governments.
Just gonna go to the washroom.
Still,
Be right back.
probably we can think about some influence in this case at the same time, because it's not clear what's happening, and it's really concerning.
And Facebook has admitted that in the past, the platform was used to incite violence in Myanmar. So that's incredibly worrying, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, this is not the first time. The Ukrainian case is not really the first time. I mean, it's really concerning, but it's not the first time that social media are involved in the spreading of hate speech or disinformation or inflaming conflicts. As I said, this has happened already in Myanmar, but it's already, there are already news saying that this is happening also, and has happened also in Ethiopia in the last months. And this is also something that's concerned Syria. So Syria was called like a social media war. So the Ukrainian crisis is not anything new. What is actually spreading, what is actually underlining is still what we said before. It's about that there's not enough transparency about these decisions and where this decision come from. If they come from the cooperation with governments, if they come from an accountable cooperation with whoever, or they come even by business decisions that actually are based basically on logic of content moderation or demonetization. So it's not a novelty what we are looking at the Ukrainian crisis, but it's a call to understand what is the role of social media in terms of conflicts and how we can think about with the process of content moderation and the cooperation with the governments and institutions.
Well, in this case, prosecutors have asked courts to name Meta as an extremist organization. So there's the possibility that people won't have access to Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp very soon in Russia. That in itself is quite isolating for the people of Russia, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a tremendous challenge, because I mean this becomes, of course, a sort of censorship, because we know how much also social media play an increasing role in this case in providing voices, not only for voices of hate speech against Ukrainians or against Russians. This is not important in this moment, but it's giving voices also for people, for telling actually what is happening in that area, but also social media is giving voice for people for organizing in situation of emergency. And so whatever situation of censorship raises a lot of points about also how these actors take decisions on how to shape public opinion. So it's really important also that social media also are incentivized to operate in these countries rather than being censored. Because of
one of the things I had to have explained to me was that like WhatsApp is massively important in Europe for people to communicate with like family and stuff.
Otherwise, it's also a problem for
It's just not a thing in Canada.
Access to channels where you can actually tell your story and fight back against disinformation.
Okay, thank you for your analysis, Giovanni De Gregorio, a researcher at Oxford University Centre for Socio-Legal Studies. Now, Russia says it's allowed a Ukrainian repair team to restore lost power to the Chernobyl nuclear site.
Oh,
Russian troops
there you go.
now control the defunct plant. That was where
She
the
said
world's
defunct.
worst atomic disaster happened
Defunct nuclear plant. Oh, jeez.
back in 1986. They've also taken over the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, Europe's largest. The developments have alarmed the UN nuclear watchdog, whose chief had talks with Russia and Ukraine on Thursday.
I'm also just going to take a quick break from Al Jazeera to point out just sort of like the highlight of news, because apparently Russian attacks are hitting Ukrainian cities that were not targeted before. This is a photo from Reuters. Explosions were reported on Friday in Lutsk, near the Polish border, in Dnipro, a major stronghold in central eastern Ukraine, and in Ivano-Frankivsk in the southwest, Ukrainian authorities say. According to multiple reports, Joe Biden is set to announce plans to revoke Russia's most favored nation trade status with support from the EU and G7 nations. Zelenskyy rejected Russian claims that Ukraine has chemical weapons and said this could be a sign of Russia's own use of these weapons. U.S. Senate passed an omnibus bill that includes billions in emergency aid for Ukraine. Okay, I didn't know about that. On Thursday, Russian and Ukrainian diplomats met in the Turkish city of Antalya. However, no agreement to end hostilities was reached, and Ukraine has lost all communication with Chernobyl, but we just got news on that.
One important thing is that Ukraine and the Russian Federation want to work with us. They agree to work with us, and they are prepared to work with us.
These are the regulators of nuclear facilities internationally, I believe.
Perhaps the gravity of my
Atomic
tone
Energy
has to do
Association,
with the
maybe.
gravity of the situation, because it's a very dire situation, and we need to move fast. And I am aware of the responsibility we have and the expectations that there are.
Bennett Ramberg is author on nuclear proliferation. He says atomic sites need to be secured quickly.
Yikes.
Well, one of the ideas presented by the International Atomic Energy Agency is to create a 30-kilometer exclusionary zone.
Wow.
Within the zone, there'd be no military action, and this would be very, very wise.
You think they'll get it?
4 plants in Ukraine. One of the plants is occupied now. Chernobyl is the 5th area, but 3 plants remain, and it's uncertain what the Russians are going to do with regard to these. There were reports in the days past that Russian forces were approaching one of the other plants. It's a very, very serious situation where these plants bombarded, or where electricity cut off, and there's other vulnerabilities associated with each of these facilities. The plant there, of course, is defunct because of the accident that occurred in 1986.
Oh.
However, there's spent fuel situated at the plant, about 20,000 rods that are situated.
Yikes.
They've been there for now decades.
Okay.
They're not generating that much heat.
Okay.
The electricity was suspended from the plant because of Russian military action. Evidently, some efforts are being undertaken as we talk to reconnect the plant.
Who goes and invades a country and just let's get the defunct nuclear power reactor. That's our most important. Does the names of these places make anyone else want to play Total War? Yeah, I actually started playing so much Total War. I think I got 3 kingdoms, the one about China, and yeah, I just wanted to go whole hog on the whole.
But there's no immediate hazard posed by this particular matter.
It's a really boring game to
There's
stream,
still
though.
residue in the reactor itself as well from the accident. We've never had a situation in the past where you've had multiple reactors in a war setting that have been subject to military attack. And the Russians should know better, since the Soviet Union was involved in the worst nuclear accident that the international community has ever seen, decades ago, of course.
Hundreds of refugees have arrived in Portugal, some of the more than 2 million people fleeing the war in Ukraine. Gillian Wolfe has this report.
Yeah, and it's also worth noting the racism that comes along with that. Denmark opens its arms to Ukrainians while trying to send Syrian refugees home. Sheesh. Yeah.
It's been a terrifying and exhausting journey. But more than 260 Ukrainian refugees are now safe in Portugal. President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa and his delegation were there to welcome them to their new home.
The best response is to see their eyes shining with joy when they arrive in Portugal. It's this help that we give that motivates us the most.
Portugal recently approved a new resolution simplifying its entry and protection requirements for Ukrainian refugees fleeing the war. Under the new measure, Ukrainian citizens can obtain legal status with immediate access to taxpayers, social security, and national health service numbers.
We, as an association, will give them psychological, educational, human, food, and medical support so that they can start to integrate into society and build their lives here in Portugal.
That's very far
The
from
European
Ukraine.
nation is home to a large Ukrainian community of around 30,000 people. Programs are being
Is it
put
just
in
me, or is it going to be pretty hard for a Ukrainian to live in Portugal? It's like so warm and sunny.
place to help integrate new refugees, including language courses and job skills training. The government has set up a task force to match Ukrainians with work opportunities, with more than 17,000 jobs already listed. And with Portugal's low number of working population, this might just prove beneficial for the nation and its new guests. Julian Wolf, Al Jazeera.
Oh, shit. That was a great sign-off.
The economic impact of the sanctions against Russia is being felt at petrol pumps in the U.S. Fuel prices there are soaring. President Joe Biden says Moscow is to blame, but Republicans blame him for letting the conflict in Ukraine affect Americans.
Don't both sides this.
Rob Reynolds reports from Los
Don't
Angeles.
both sides this, Al Jazeera. Don't do it.
This group of Pennsylvania college students flew to Los Angeles.
Who has advised Ukraine to incinerate any pathogens being studied in their research labs? Yeah, I heard about this. To prevent bombing from releasing them, probably. Russia announces that Ukraine is manufacturing bioweapons. Yeesh. Yeah, I think I'll try to pull up the source, because I was trying to think through, like, how would you do that? Like, oh yeah, besides fighting a war, let's make sure we go get rid of all of our our research facilities, really cripple our nation properly, you know, for the long-term future. Fuck, what a bad position to be in.
Angeles for their spring holiday. But the soaring price of fuel has put a crimp in their plans for fun in the California sun.
Well, after we landed from the airport and I saw the gas prices, I was like,
Fuel has been expensive for months due to a pandemic-induced shortfall in supply.
So yeah, that news comes from Reuters. They got the scoop. WHO says it advised Ukraine to destroy pathogens in health labs to prevent disease spread. To destroy high-threat pathogens housed in the country's public health labs to prevent, quote, any potential spills that would spread disease among the population. Yeah, seems like a good idea, but fuck.
But Russia's attack on Ukraine spooked markets and turbocharged prices.
The oil market reacts much like the stock market, and unfortunately, drivers are paying for that at the gas pump.
High-priced fuel makes the price of everything transported by road, sea, and air more expensive.
Here, this is like literally this.
Science. What's science ever done for us? TV off.
Thou shalt not bear false witness. Thou shalt not covet. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make graven images.
Science is like a blabbermouth who ruins a movie by telling you how it ends. Well, I say there are some things we don't want to know. Important things.
Yo, old Simpsons. So good.
Enough talk. It's smashing time.
Yeah. And of course have like the granny be the most violent one. Not the Diney, not the dinosaur. I think this is what I came here for.
I'm paralyzed. I just hope medical science can cure me.
Sorry.
Up inflation even further. The average price of gasoline in the U.S. is hovering at about $4 a gallon. That's 3.7 liters. California is the state with the highest gasoline prices, $5.
I love that they had to explain how many liters in a gallon, because no one in the world counts by gallons. No one counts their gas by gallons. Like only America. Fucking America.
31 cents on average, but in some places, like here in Beverly Hills, it costs a lot more than that. The U.S. and other governments are trying to cushion the blow by releasing fuel from strategic reserves.
Yeah.
We don't know how long this is going to last, but we are very focused on right now alleviating pain at the pump to the extent we can.
Prices will likely remain high for the foreseeable future.
Different
The
size
U.S.
gallons?
Energy Information Agency
What?
says oil will stay up.
What? Our gallon is not the same as a European gallon? No.
Above $100 a barrel for the rest of the year.
At $4 a gallon, is that a point where people can't take it anymore? It still remains to be seen, but
Some of the posts I've seen, especially on like anti-work or work reform subreddits, are like, it cost me $80 to get to work, and I make $80 in a day's work. There's literally no, it doesn't work anymore. Like the thing's broken. The dog won't hunt. The tractor won't go.
inevitably we think we might see some behavioral change.
Belt tightening is already one of Brittany Anderson's plans.
It's definitely going to factor in how I am budgeting for my rent and my groceries, paying off my debts. I was not anticipating this big of a hit.
A hit to Americans' pocketbooks from a war half a world away. Rob Reynolds, Al Jazeera, Los Angeles.
This is totally something different, but what a story. I'm not going to let my child die. Woman runs into burning home to save son. The family escaped the fire with just the pajamas they were wearing. No shoes or socks. Yo, look at this story. That is like boss queen. A woman in Kensington, PEI fought through flames inside her family's burning bungalow Wednesday night to save her youngest son. Latoya Martin and her husband, Christy Young, were asleep when the fire started after midnight and woke to the sound of beeping, heavy billowing smoke, and flames. They escaped the house with 2 of their children and 6 other relatives. Oh my God. But then realized their 12-year-old son, Josiah, had been left behind. Quote, we started to count them and then we realized the youngest son was still in the house. Young said, as soon as he spoke, his wife dashed into the house and with Young right behind her. Quote, my first attempt, the flames were so hot, I ran back out, Martin said. I tried to go in again and I ran back out and I said, Lord, I'm not going to let my child die in here. I'll have to die with him. So I ran through the flames. She found him in the living room and dragged him outside. That was scary. I don't wish that on anybody, she said. I could feel the heat on my skin, but I didn't get burned at all. The boy suffered minor burns on one ear and arm. Martin's pregnant sister, Alexandria Williams, whose first child is due on Monday, had to escape through a window with her boyfriend? Holy fuck. Quote, it was a miracle, because I couldn't see us getting out of there alive. Williams said, quote, I thought I was going to die. Honestly, the smoke alone was enough to kill you. My throat started to close up. I started to panic. She credits her boyfriend with helping her get out. The family alerted neighbors to call 911 by knocking on doors. Fire services arrived quickly, and a few family members went to hospital to be checked over for scrapes and burns and smoke inhalation, but everyone's okay. They spent the rest of the night next door where Martin's mother lives. The cause of the fire is unknown. What a story. Sorry, that's a Canadian human interest story. Oh, God, Simon, stop. Oh, no. Really? Oh, God, that's so stupid. Really? Not even the gallon makes... Oh, fucking America. Reverse Home Alone shit. It's the day before the day after tomorrow. Oh, boy. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. Looks like they're taking a little wee break, so I think we might switch. Let's see how France 24 is doing. Moscow. Oh, wait, whoops. Looks like I clicked the wrong thing. But this actually might be interesting. Russia demands U.S. explain support of alleged biowarfare. Yes, that sounds amazing. Sounds amazing.
Мы подтверждаем те вскрывшиеся в ходе проведения специальной военной операции на Украине
The special military operation in Ukraine. Okay. that indicate an emergency cleanup of military biological programs by the Kyiv
которые
regime.
свидетельствуют об экстренной зачистке киевским режимом следов военно-биологических программ, они реализовывались Киевом при
Financed by the
финансировании
US.
Соединенных Штатов Америки.
Big
Ни
if
о
true.
каком
Big if true.
мирном использовании, научных
Memories
целях во благо
Sorry.
мира, развития, конечно, речи не идет. Дело в том, что они финансировались по линии Министерства обороны Соединенных Штатов Америки.
Amazing.
Мы
Amazing.
исходим из
Large if factual.
того, что
Apples.
в
I know it's
ближайшее
quite the
время
difference, eh?
Министерство обороны Соединенных Штатов Америки, администрация
We
президента США
assume
обязаны ознакомить
are
международное
obliged to
сообщество
explain.
и сделать это
Yeah, okay, all right. Russian lies. Russia lies, people cry.
again in an effort to help the pupil.
48 schools destroyed in Kharkiv, according to the mayor.
It was cancelled as it was felt to be too difficult for the students.
Here we are, on a visit to the city of Carcassonne. Cross-country running happens every year, and this was a visit to Arcachon. We want to open up the perspectives of the pupils and help them discover the world. That was one of the main aims of our director.
Barbed wire and video cameras now make the high school seem like a fortress.
Yikes.
There's fear they'll be targeted again. In the playground, this statue was erected in memory of the 4 victims.
Today, we are still living in fear.
Dans la crainte.
It affects you. Our students, our children are growing up with soldiers in front of their school. It's inconceivable
Why is she speaking French?
when you take the time to think about it in a democratic
This is
country
not-
like France.
This is France. Yeah, I was going to say.
Leon
But
Leani couldn't sleep
there was an
for
attack on
several
a
months
school?
after the
Oh.
tragedy. He's
Sorry,
kept hold
everybody.
of all the newspapers he bought at the time.
C'est toute la.
These are all of the newspapers from that time.
De ce qui s'était passé donc il y a 10 ans.
I kept them not as
Like,
a souvenir.
when did Ukrainians start speaking so much French? Holy cow. Okay, I guess they stopped covering. I'm curious what Ben Shapiro has to say about this. This could be fun. 3 weeks ago. Let's see what you got, Ben Shabibo. Here's why Biden is to blame for insanely high gas prices.
This White House is now attempting.
Yes, let's go. It's not the Ukrainian war. Nope, it's Biden, everybody. Let's go. This should be fun.
This White House is now attempting to blame the gas price increases over the course of Joe Biden's presidency on everything except for Joe Biden. And they're actually attempting to blame oil and gas companies, which is quite incredible. So Jen Psaki, yesterday, she came out and she said, well, the reason that oil and gas companies are charging high prices is because they're greedy and terrible.
Record profits, everybody. Record profits.
When she was asked about the fact that this administration has been extraordinarily unfriendly to the natural gas and oil industry, she responded by saying, well, they have, they don't need permits. We gave them their leases. Isn't that enough?
Nearly 60% of leased acres remain non-producing. That's a lot, in the range of 20 million.
3 months old, still relevant. Oil companies' profits soared to $174 billion this year as U.S. gas prices rose. Exxon, Chevron, Shell, and BP among group of 24 who resisted calls to increase production but doled out shareholder dividends. Made a combined $174 billion in the first 9 months of the year as gasoline prices climbed in the U.S., according to a new report. So, yeah, they eating good.
Million acres. So there are 9,000.
That's right, Kraus. Oil companies are quite literally where all moral virtue comes from. You've heard of the trickle-down economy? That actually refers to how moral justice trickles down from oil and gas companies.
Unused approved permits to drill in. That should not require us inviting them to do that. They should do that themselves.
The additional permits. So would the president?
What additional permits do they need? They have the leases are there, the permits are there. I don't think they need an embroidered invitation to drill. They are oil companies.
I mean, she's not
wrong.
wrong.
Okay, that is a lie. So according to Katie Pavlich, she tweeted out the regulations from the Bureau of Land Management, the bureaucratic nightmare that has to be approved by the government.
Oh my God. BLM? No. BLM strikes again, everybody.
Regulations from the Bureau of Land Management.
Did you hear that? Bureau of Land Management. It's BLM. BLM's behind it, everybody.
The bureaucratic nightmare that has to be approved by the government says leases for drilling are not the same thing as permits. You can have tons of leases. The White House claims 9,000 and no permits. Permits can take ages to get approved by the government, federal and local. And it's true, if you look at what the Bureau of Land Management has to say, they say once a leaseholder, operator, or designated agent identifies an oil and gas deposit on a federal lease, they can file an application for permit to drill. The Bureau of Land Management posts these APDs on its 30-day federal public posting report page. The Bureau of Land Management governs the APD process. The BLM cannot improve an APD until the operator meets the requirements of certain laws and regulations, including the National Environmental Policy Act, the National Historic Preservation Act, the Endangered Species Act. Upon receiving an application for permit to drill, the Bureau of Land Management typically conducts an on-site inspection with surface or mineral estate. It goes on like this.
My guy, you've got like so much production value, an on-air thing, like a designed logo, a Mac, a beautiful microphone, and he's reading tweets off his computer. It's just like low-key, high-key, just reading highly complex tweets about mining.
Okay, so no.
My God. Bisaki has recently said that there are 9,000 open permits to drill. So how many more permits are needed? I mean, the big joke is about us reaching peak oil like years ago. I'm pretty sure. God, the comparisons to oil is like an addiction, like a needle addiction that were made in the 90s are so apt right now. Like an addict returning to the needle. We're just like cannot get off this substance, and as soon as like there's major instability like a war, then it's just like, oh, we need our safety net, and it's just like digging us in deeper. It's really frustrating to watch. I really wish Gore had won.
All these places that want to drill are not being able to drill because they have slow walked all this stuff. They are purposefully taking forever because that's part of the plan. Joe Biden,
he wants freedom. He wants more freedom for the oil and gas companies. Freedom.
Said it in 2019. This is not a shock. Here is Joe Biden circa 2019 overtly saying in the middle of a presidential race that there is no more drilling on federal lands under his presidency.
I've argued against any more oil drilling or gas drilling on federal lands, that we can and to stop that. Now, we could pass national legislation, but I don't think we get it done in terms of getting the votes to get it done, to say all fracking that's going on now ends unless you can show there's some physical security need or worried about explosions, et cetera, which is a legitimate thing to worry about. But I would not allow.
Okay, so he was just saying it. He was just saying it right out in 2019. We're not going to do any more leases. We're not interested in boosting the natural gas and oil industry. This is during a climate town hall in 2019. By the way, even the transformation of Joe Biden from 2019, when he wasn't all there, to 2022 is astonishing. He looks desiccated in 2019. He looks not alive now. He looks like something from Tales of the Crypt.
Let's look at him just body shaming. Look at this, just rampant ageism and body shaming coming from Shabibo. The man, I don't know if... yeah, Shapiro is like not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed, let's say.
He's just, it's horrifying how decrepit the president of the United States is at this point. By the way, literally yesterday.
Also, when asked about Ukraine, Trump's attention turns to windmills. Quote, during an interview yesterday, Donald Trump was asked a straightforward question about the crisis in Ukraine. Quote, how does this all end? Is this going to be a long-term thing? How do you see it unfolding? Quote, well, and I said this a long time ago, if this happens, we are playing right into their hands. Green energy. The windmills don't work. They're too expensive. They kill all the birds. They ruin your landscapes, Trump answered. And yet the environmentalists love the windmills. And I've been preaching this for years. The windmills, and I had them way down, but the windmills are the most expensive energy you can have. And they don't work. It's amazing that I got clapped for misinformation on like a 30-second Telegram thing that might not have actually been from Ukraine and might have been representing a different protest moment that I just like didn't understand. But you know, you can have one of the most powerful people on the planet just woo. All right, okay.
Yesterday, Joe Biden said
Trump on windmills is dire. He's not even tilting at windmills anymore. That's what's crazy. Is like he's gone past even the, you know, like the, what is it, Don Quixote memes. Like he's not even quixotic anymore. It's just beyond parody.
we are moving away from fossil fuels. So just to get this straight, gas prices are $7 in some places in the United States. Here's Joe Biden yesterday talking about how we're moving away from fossil fuels, which makes perfect sense. If I went to the store and milk was $10 a gallon, and the president of the United States says, well, you know, we're trying to move you off of milk to rice milk. That's our solution. I might say, well, actually, I would just like the milk cheaper. But here is Joe Biden pledging that he will keep the prices high, because if you don't invest in the...
That's why he's releasing oil reserves and trying to talk up Venezuela and Saudi Arabia to keep the prices high.
Increased production of oil and natural gas. You're not going to get cheaper oil and natural gas.
As everything changes, there's a fundamental shift to the reality that we can't keep the combustion engine the way it has been. It's even, you see what's happening in locomotives now, you know, and you see what's happening
he is old,
just across the board. And and I think it presents an enormous opportunity.
Okay, it's an enormous opportunity, guys. High gas prices that are costing you your paycheck, that's an enormous opportunity, says the even more decrepit president of 2022. Okay, just go back to last year. Jennifer Granholm, the energy secretary, she was saying the solution to all this is to drive an electric car. After all, this is when gas prices were already high last year. Because
that's what this is really about. Big Electric is secretly behind the war in Ukraine.
You look at that chart. We showed it to you yesterday. Gas prices under Joe Biden look kind of like this. They're rising steadily, and then boom, they sort of pop in the last 3 weeks because of what's happening in Ukraine. But that rising steadily means that when there was a cutoff in supply, the prices were going to skyrocket, which is exactly what happened. When you prep the ground for a bad thing, and the bad thing happens, that's what happens. Here's Jennifer Granholm circa 2021 saying we are going to move away.
Everything has stayed equal. Nothing has happened in the world that might be affecting oil prices.
From gas-powered vehicles and toward electric cars.
We obviously are all in on making sure that we meet the president's goals of getting to 100% clean electricity by 2035 and net zero carbon emissions by 2050.
Yikes.
And, you know,
that's not going to happen.
Drive an electric car, this would not be affecting you.
Oh, well, you know, if you just spent that $60 grand on the Tesla, then this wouldn't. Elon Musk is more in touch with the people than these morons are.
No, he's not. Elon Musk is an idiot.
It's incredible. I mean, literally. Yes, and then fast forward.
The other oil story is the nuclear weapons deal with Iran, a deal that Russia may be blocking so that Iran cannot supply oil to the world market. I thought the nuclear. Oh, that's right, because other countries were, even though America pulled out of the weapons deal, other countries were upholding it, right? A deal that Russia may be blocking? Or is this a new one that you're referring to, Simon?
To yesterday. They haven't changed their message. Here's Jennifer Granholm yesterday saying, well, you know, we're working on this energy transition. Good luck with that.
For me, Putin's actions and the resolve of the Ukrainian people give me even more determination to get this energy transition right.
Oh,
I mean, there's a climate change thing happen, Ben.
Oh, so on behalf of the Ukrainians, we need to invest in solar panels and windmills, not nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is bad. Solar panels and windmills. On behalf of the Ukrainians, I am sure that as the bombs fall in Mariupol, they are just thanking their lucky stars that Jennifer Granholm is trying to subsidize solar panels on your roof. That was their highest priority. And you can see what this administration's priorities are. John Kerry, who is just a terrible human being. John Kerry.
He was traveling yesterday, and he explained that while Ukrainian refugees are having it hard, climate change don't take your eye off the ball.
This is Ben Shabibo talking at a university.
So let's say, for the sake of argument, that all of the water levels around the world rise by let's say 5 feet over the next 100 years, say 10 feet by the next 100 years, and it puts all the low-lying areas on the coast underwater. Right, which let's say all of that happens.
Okay.
You think that people aren't going to just sell their homes and move?
whole problem. Sell their houses to who, Ben? Fucking Aquaman!
Oh, fuck, that will never get old. H Bomber Guy just put out a 3-hour video on this game, Apex, and it's quite the romp. He's really funny. H Bomber Guy. Fucking Ben
We don't
Shabibo.
need additional energy. We need to worry about sea level rise in 100 years.
Here's Easter Island head, John Kerry.
We're already seeing climate refugees around the world. If you think migration has been a problem in Europe from the Syrian war, or even from what we see now, where do you see 100 million people for whom the entire food production capacity has collapsed?
So yeah, this is the story that Simon was talking about. Biden administration is inching closer to an agreement to salvage the Iran nuclear deal, but there are still a number of unresolved issues that could cause the efforts to fail. A senior administration official and State Department spokesman told CNN, quote, "While there has been significant progress and we are close to a possible deal, a number of very difficult issues remain unresolved. Nothing is agreed until everything is agreed." So yeah, that's interesting. A new deal could keep them from becoming a nuclear power. I'm not sure if this is exactly what you're referring to, but it is very curious.
Okay, I mean, first of all, let's make the point that over the course of the next 100 years, the climate will change gradually. What's happening in Ukraine right now is bombs are falling on cities and people are leaving immediately. They always make it sound like the day after tomorrow. Really, they always make climate change sound like it's going to happen immediately. Like snap.
Just word salad. Yeah, you can really tell. You can really tell if you've been around the block. If you're young and impressionable, you can't tell, I don't think. Iran and world powers will pause talks on reviving nuclear deal due to, quote, external factors. Last-minute Russian demands threaten to torpedo the otherwise largely completed negotiations. Yeah, what's your source on that, Simon? But yeah, thanks. That's really interesting. Yikes. That means, I guess, Iran's going to continue doing their thing.
Of the fingers. Tomorrow it's just going to be 10 degrees hotter. All the food's going to go away. And you're going to see migrants all over the world. That is not how climate change operates, according to anyone, including the IPCC. But
This guy, my guy quoting IPCC.
they've got their priorities straight, guys.
Amazing.
Their priorities are not getting your gas prices lower by increasing production or making us independent of Russian oil or Venezuelan oil or Iranian oil. Their priority is this green push. And they're going to use the high gas prices right now as an artificial way of pushing green energy. After all, these are the same idiots who suggested a global carbon tax rooted in the idea that if you artificially raise the price of gas, then people will be incentivized to use green energy. There's only one problem.
Just to be really clear, the carbon tax is a conservative idea. There's been so little policy movement on climate change that leftists started taking right-wing arguments and saying, don't you agree with yourself here? And some conservatives, particularly in like the sane part of the world, were like, yeah, I guess it does make sense. And the dude who came up with carbon tax won the Nobel Prize in economics. So shut the fuck up, Ben.
Problem, which is that you'd have to raise the price of gas so extraordinarily high that it would wreck your economy. So if it happens by accident, hey, look, we get to do what we wanted to do anyway. Here was Nancy Pelosi yesterday talking about the importance of accomplishing environmental justice. Again, we're seeing gas price at $7 a gallon. These people, they are just cruising for a 2022 bruising.
With this president, this Joe Biden, this president with justice, environmental justice, economic justice, so much has been accomplished that some of the governors are complaining that they're getting some of their money while many of them are enjoying slush funds in all of this.
Unreal.
Okay, so everybody,
this administration, I do love this. This administration simultaneously is saying we need to move toward green energy, and also they're saying, you know, what'd be great is if they produced oil in Iran, brokered by the Russians, and maybe the Russians will even be given a way out of their sanctions. So simultaneously, while we are telling American oil-producing companies that we are not going to build Keystone XL or loosen up the permitting process, get rid of the red tape, we're not going to do any of that stuff. We are, however, cutting a bunch of red tape so that Iran can get its money and develop nuclear weapons. Did you know that every single
Okay, Ben Shabibo. Okay, Ben. Okay, so Iran nuclear talks stumble over unresolved Russian demands. Parties trying to revive the Iran nuclear deal scrambled on Wednesday to resolve last-minute Russian demands that threatened to scupper negotiations, diplomats said, with the U.S. appearing unwilling to engage with Russia on the matter. Western powers on Tuesday warned Russia against wrecking an almost completed deal on bringing the United States and Iran back into compliance with the 2015 accord. Iran's top negotiator returned to Vienna on Wednesday from consultations in Tehran. Richard Nixon started the EPA. Yeah, that was like, he did that to sort of like do the whole regulatory capture. It was going to happen. It was like politically, yeah, that is always a fun fact to bring up, but it's not as straightforward as you think. It's not as a win as you think. He did it to sort of like neuter stronger regulatory calls. It is amazing that the U.S. right have only one policy: own the libs and make oil corporations rich. That sounds like two policies, Simon. Jeez, no wonder they're winning. We can't even count. Okay, I'm just joking. Russia's envoy to the talks, Mikhail Ulyanov, dismissed any suggestion Moscow was holding up an agreement and said a final text had, in any case, not been completed. 11 months of talks to restore the deal have reached their final stages, saying there was broad agreement, but just as the final issues were being resolved, Russia presented a new obstacle by demanding written guarantees from the U.S. that Western sanctions targeting Moscow over its invasion of Ukraine would not affect its trade with Iran. They want to have their cake and eat it too. Russia says, this is Washington Post, Russia says its businesses can steal patents from anyone in unfriendly countries. Yeah, that's gonna go over well with the Microsoft and McDonald's of the world. Russia is effectively legal. This is actually going to be one of our first examples of seeing state power directly counter corporate power. We're going to see like what kind of screws come out of the machine when the corporations all leave a country. You know, like Russia's now going to be wicked exposed to hacks once after Microsoft left. This will be a big problem for them. Russia has effectively legalized patent theft from anyone affiliated with countries unfriendly to it, declaring that unauthorized use will not be compensated. The decree, issued this week, illustrates the economic war waged around Russia's invasion of Ukraine, as the West levies sanctions and pulls away from Russia's huge oil and gas industry. Russian officials have also raised the possibility of lifting restrictions on some trademarks, according to state media, which could allow continued use of brands such as McDonald's that are withdrawing from Russia in droves. I think even fucking Adidas. Even Adidas closes its stores, everybody. How is the war still going on? They don't even have clothes anymore. How are they clothing their people? Adidas just closed all its stores. Closing its stores in Russia and suspending its online shop until further notice, but continued to pay employees there. Oh, that's interesting. Adidas joins rivals Nike and Puma in closing its stores in Russia. So, yeah, Adidas supplies the clothes, and I guess all their shoe production's gone now too. Jeez, how are they even going to clothe their army? Okay, let's see where Al Jazeera is at.
Security and defense. Once again, I want to thank Emmanuel Macron.
This might be about France again. Maybe.
Hosting us here in Versailles, which is a symbol.
Oh, okay.
Where we see the history of peace, the history of Europe, and we made a choice to meet.
Is that a slur?
Is that a slur? Bring about this dream for Europe. Thank you. Thank you.
Fuck is a Gopnik? Oh, it's a degen. It's a degen. Nice.
Charles and Emmanuel, thank you for receiving me here.
Nice.
In this building which is so loaded with history.
Gopnik and Gopota, plural.
The future of Ukraine and the future of the European Union and of our democracies. Because our destinies are, as a result, linked. Ukraine is part of the European family. Putin acts our aggression on Ukraine. It is an attack against democracies, against sovereignty of states, against freedom of people to choose their own destiny, to shape their future. The way that we respond today to the odious attacks against Ukraine to determine so much that both the future of Ukraine as that of our union and even beyond the European continent.
So remember what I said about nation building? This is interesting to see that it's like a continent building, even like a step above. War for Ukraine is building the nation, and here war is building the diplomatic nation, the diplomatic union, I should say.
Let us remain loyal to the principles which up until now brought about our responses of unity, solidarity, and determination.
This crisis has indeed made us face up to our responsibilities in the face of
Yeah, it's like the word jarhead for people in the military, right? It's like a rude thing to say, but it's used within the community.
New reality. First, our duty to continue ensuring reliable, secure, and affordable supply of energy to European consumers.
All about the energy.
In the midterm, this means getting rid of our dependency on Russian gas by diversification of supply, by massively investing in renewables. Renewables are homegrown, they create jobs here in Europe. They are a strategic investment in our security and in our independence. And this is why the European Commission outlined Repower EU this week. Repower EU is a plan to diversify suppliers and switch to renewables.
Interesting, you're finally doing it.
By mid-May, we will come up with a proposal to phase out our dependency on Russian gas, oil, and coal by 2027.
Wow.
Backed by the necessary national and European resources.
Really? In like 5 years?
But we also addressed energy price
That's pretty insane, actually.
By mid-May, the Commission will present options to optimize the electricity market design so that it better supports the green transition.
What does that mean?
But consumers and business need relief now, and therefore this week the Commission came forward with guidance on price regulation.
Yeah, just need a little war.
Exceptional circumstances.
Get everybody moving.
And the possibility of a new temporary crisis framework for state aid to support struggling businesses. This is complemented by the option given to member states to tax windfall profits from energy groups.
Yeah, that was a big suggestion. It's not going to make it through U.S. Congress, but a bill was proposed that if there's too much profits that oil and gas company rakes in, then there would be a rebate to citizens where you're just given money based on how much you purchased at the pump. It would be like wildly popular, but it's not going to pass Congress because, like, of course, the oil and gas industry is like complete control.
Beyond this first step, the European Union needs to define a longer-term EU gas storage policy.
Yeah, no,
and therefore the Commission will table a proposal to fill up underground gas storages to at least 90%.
Yeah, the whole, like, we rely on Russian oil and gas while people talked about renewable energies and shit has always been, like, the main thing. It's the same thing in Canada. It's like, oh yeah, we're all for, the liberals will be like, we're all for renewable energies, but also here's $5 billion to the most profitable industry in world history. Let's just give them billions of dollars for reasons. Good old federal subsidies to oil and gas, 4.9 billion of your Canadian tax dollar given to oil companies. Russia launches Adida.
of their capacity by the 1st
more like,
of October.
More like Sadida. Sadida.
So you see, it's a whole big package, and this will be our insurance policy against supply disruption. Similarly, the leaders also discussed food prices and global food security.
Oh, God.
And here, too, the Commission will come forward with options to address these important issues.
I'm going to have to restart Rich Food for Poor Folk, everybody.
This war has also fundamentally altered Europe's security environment.
How to make a toast sandwich.
Different forces and different capabilities. Significant additional defense investments in Europe will be needed. And I welcome that some leaders have announced ambitious steps to increase defense spending. More will follow. But we need to avoid fragmentation. Thus, we need a coordinated approach, because this only will ensure that we maintain a military technological edge in our European industrial base and that interoperability is given between our European armed forces. This will be the focus of our work in the next weeks to come. I want to be very clear that we need to closely coordinate also with NATO. NATO is the strongest military alliance in the world.
True.
Thus, I welcome that the leaders have tasked us to prepare an analysis of the defense investment gaps and to make sure that we have a clear plan how to deal with those gaps in Europe by mid-May, when the Commission is presenting the results of this undertaking. The second principle I mentioned was unity.
Oh, it's kind of weird not to see people masked up, eh?
It certainly guided us when we swiftly imposed altogether 3 successive waves of sanctions on the Kremlin. With an immediate, hard-hitting effect, we will now come forward with a 4th package of sanctions. These sanctions will further isolate Russia from the global economic system, increasing further the cost of Putin's invasion to Ukraine.
Are you wearing Adidas? No, this is Sadida. It's mirror image. Get with it. Get with times.
And finally, a word on solidarity, which so many Europeans are showing shining examples of in these days by welcoming.
I wonder. Sounds about white.
With open arms, more than 2 million people who have now fled the war in Ukraine.
But if you're Syrian, get out.
I want to thank all EU member states and in particular the countries in the front line, that is Poland, Romania, Slovakia and Hungary, and of course our partner Moldova. Because the people of Ukraine need and deserve all support, and so do the countries that welcome them.
Not military support.
The Commission has set up a solidarity platform.
Sadida is a god of the world of 12, as well as the name of followers. They serve black magic, and he was among the 10 gods who discovered the world of 10. His name backwards spells Adidas. Yeah, Simon, as always, coming with the lore drop. Definitely, make sure you follow everything he says. It's almost always 100% factual and true. I know this because I can read words well.
Coordinate operational and financial support and reception capacity. We're also using the flexibility of the EU budget to the fullest so that member states can finance actions for refugees, like, for example, housing or schooling or medical care and other topics. This flexibility within the Commission could free several billion euros over the coming years for exactly these purposes.
And some news is breaking that it's possible that Putin's open to meeting with Zelenskyy to discuss the end of the Ukraine war. I'm not totally convinced. Conceptually possible, but I don't think his forces are spent yet, right? At least not his military forces, at the very least.
The Ukrainian people are showing immense courage. And a people that stands up so bravely for European values is clearly part of the European family of nations. So while this terrible war rages on, we should already reflect carefully about what comes next. The membership applications of Ukraine are expressions of national sovereignty, of its will and its right to choose its own destiny. Today, we have opened the pathway towards us for Ukraine. They are part of the European family. Thank you.
Yeah, that's big words. So besides cutting off trade with Russia in terms of oil and gas in the next 5 years, it's worth noting that Russians kind of do support the war. I think a poll came out that was over 50%. This might be an older one from February saying it's as high as 70%. I think that's dropped of late. But I think people underestimate just how popular this war is in Russia. And that just might mean this draws out for a few months, even as these sanctions start to draw blood.
Merci beaucoup. Monsieur le Président, Madame la Présidente, Mesdames, Messieurs.
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen.
Google supplied a Russian fan wiki for the mega.
Thank you very much for being here following this Versailles summit. Madam President, you've spoken about the spirit of our discussions and conclusions. We are in this gallery of battles to think that war, which has been a history of 15 days, choice of Russia of bringing back war to Europe. Faced with this violence against Ukraine and its people, and the tragedy for our history, we're all fully aware it's also a turning point for our societies, for our peoples, for our European project. We have responded to it for 15 days. We've been doing this. Madam President, Mr. President, I've said this, with unity, speed, and a spirit of responsibility. The choices were made quickly by the 27 governments, with our institutions, with all our partners of the G7, with a diplomatic work to isolate Russia following with the United Nations General Assembly. For 2 weeks, the Ukrainians have been acting with courage to defend their freedom, their democracy, their sovereignty, their territory. The Europeans have a clear position which is unanimous and firm against Russian aggression. We have drawn all the consequences, in particular with the resolution made by the UN General Assembly. We also have the new support for Ukraine with equipment, humanitarian support, but also weapons, and the way that the European Union can help with 100 million euros, and countries which up until now had a tradition of neutrality around the table, which decided for the first time for 2 decades to support Ukraine. This economic support as well, humanitarian support,
initially
giving shelter to refugees. I'd like to pay my respects to the Polish people, the Hungarian people, Moldovan people for their
Okay, everybody, this is starting to drag. Tomorrow at around 9 o'clock, I'll start the stream. And we're actually going to switch gears. We're going to go back to the People's Convoy, everyone. Remember that? Remember the cause for freedom? Well, Channel 5 with Andrew Callahan put out an hour-long documentary on my favorite issue, so we have got to watch this in full. I cannot wait. Tomorrow, this is what we're focusing on. It'll be the People's Convoy, the Freedom Convoy, as you might have heard me call it. And yeah, sorry I've been gone for so long, but I'll try to be back, Saturday, Sunday. And yeah, I hope that was a fun stream. We're going to go raid my favorite humorous political commentator on Twitch, Lucid Fox. So yeah, if you like that sort of weird humor that's making light of heavy shit, Lucid's the guy. But yeah, I hope you guys had a lot of fun. And yeah, make sure to like and subscribe and follow and all those things that help me out and keep the channel going and keep me interested in wasting my mornings giving the only Canadian news source that exists. But otherwise, y'all have a nice day. I'll see you later. Bye everyone. Bye YouTubers. Have a good one. See you later. Bye.